The Force binds all things across the galaxy, connecting every living being in an invisible web of energy that flows through stars, planets, and the space between. For 1,000 generations, the Jedi have served as guardians of this cosmic power, interpreting its will and maintaining balance. But what happens when something arrives that exists entirely outside the Force's dominion, something powered not by midi-chlorians, but by the lightning of gods from another reality entirely? If you want to see more characters enter the Star Wars galaxy, hit that subscribe button and drop the name of a character you'd want to see in the comments below. May the Force be with you. The sky above Coruscant's commercial district split open with thunder that had no storm to birth it. 6 bolts of crimson lightning tore through the atmosphere like spears thrown by invisible titans, crackling with energy that made the planet's defensive shields flare in automated alarm. Traffic speeder lanes scattered as the lightning streaks descended, drivers swerving wildly to avoid the impossible phenomenon. The bolts struck simultaneously in the plaza outside the Galactic Museum of Ancient Civilizations, sending shockwaves rippling outward that shattered transparent steel windows for 3 blocks in every direction. When the light faded and the smoke cleared, 6 figures stood in impact craters that glowed with residual energy. Mary Bromfield, though she hadn't been Mary Bromfield for the past 17 seconds, pushed herself to her feet, white cape settling around her shoulders as she took in her surroundings with wide eyes. The wisdom of Solomon flooded her mind with observations: alien architecture, hover technology, energy signatures consistent with advanced civilization, atmospheric composition breathable but slightly different from Earth. None of it explained where they were or how they'd gotten here. Billy. Her voice carried more authority than she intended, the champion's power making even a question sound like a command. Billy, sound off. Here. Her foster brother's voice came from the crater 15 feet to her left. Billy Batson, currently wearing the form of Shazam, the champion of magic, climbed out of his own impact site, red suit unmarred despite the violence of their arrival. The lightning bolt emblazoned across his chest still flickered with faint energy. What the hell just happened? 1 second we're fighting Faust in Philly, the next. Language. Darla's rebuke came automatically, even as the youngest champion blurred into existence beside them, her purple suit somehow still immaculate. Her speed left afterimages in the air, and Mary noticed with growing concern that Darla's eyes held the same confusion they all felt. Where are we? This isn't Earth. Those aren't normal buildings. Eugene materialized next, gray suit's circuitry-like patterns pulsing as he immediately began cataloging their surroundings with rapid head movements. Guys, I can't connect to any networks. No Wi-Fi, no cell service, nothing. It's like the entire internet just doesn't exist. His voice cracked with panic. How is that possible? Pedro landed beside them with enough force to crack the permacrete beneath his feet, blue suit absorbing the impact. He said nothing, but his presence steadied the group as it always did. His eyes swept their surroundings with tactical assessment, cataloging threats. Freddy was the last to join them, descending from where he'd been hovering 50 feet up. His blue suit seemed to shimmer in the alien sunlight. Wait, sunlights. Mary's gaze snapped upward. Twin suns hung in the sky, smaller than Earth's sun but brighter, casting sharp shadows in multiple directions. Okay, so good news and bad news, Freddy announced, trying for his usual humor but not quite managing it. Good news, we're definitely not in Philadelphia anymore. Bad news, I just flew high enough to see the curvature of whatever planet this is, and I counted at least 50 moons. Also, there are buildings in the sky. Like, floating. In the actual sky. The sound of repulsor lift engines approaching cut off any response. 3 police speeders descended rapidly, their sleek designs unlike any Earth vehicle. Clone troopers in white armor leaned out of the vehicles, weapons trained on the family with military precision. The lead speeder's external speakers crackled to life. Unidentified individuals. You are in violation of Coruscant airspace regulations and have caused significant property damage. Power down your weapons and surrender for processing. Coruscant. Billy repeated, the name meaning nothing to him despite Solomon's wisdom. The ancient king's knowledge encompassed Earth's history and lore, but this place, this galaxy, it was beyond even his divine insight. Mary raised her hands slowly, palms out in a gesture of peace. We're not armed. There's been some kind of accident. We don't know how we got here, and we mean no harm to anyone. More speeders were arriving now, and Mary's enhanced hearing picked up radio chatter, energy signatures off the scale, not registering as force-sensitive but, alert the Jedi Temple, Chancellor wants a full report. Mary, Eugene whispered urgently, his voice tight with fear, I tried to transform back. You know, say the word. It's not working. We're stuck like this. Ice flooded Mary's veins. She focused inward, reaching for the lightning that connected them to the Rock of Eternity, the magical realm where the wizard had granted them their powers. There should have been a clear line, a thread of divine energy she could follow back to. Nothing. The connection was severed. Not broken, but stretched so impossibly thin she couldn't feel where it ended. They were cut off from the source of their power, trapped in their champion forms with no way to transform back to their civilian identities. Everybody stay calm, Mary said, her voice steady despite the panic clawing at her chest. We'll figure this out. We always do. But even as she spoke, her enhanced vision caught movement in the crowd that had gathered at the perimeter. Beings of species she'd never seen, blue-skinned humanoids with red eyes, insectoid creatures in robes, towering aliens covered in fur, all staring at the six champions with mixtures of fear and awe. This wasn't Earth. This wasn't even close to Earth. One of the clone troopers activated a handheld device, and Mary felt a strange sensation wash over her, like someone trying to read her thoughts but finding nothing to grasp. The trooper frowned at his scanner, shook it, and tried again. Sir, the lifeform scanners aren't getting anything coherent. It's like they're generating some kind of interference field. Should we treat them as hostile? The lead trooper's helmet turned toward them, and Mary could feel the weight of his decision hanging in the air. 6 superpowered beings had just crashed into the capital of whatever civilization this was. They looked human, mostly, but wielded power that defied the local technology's ability to measure. In the distance, rising above the impossibly tall cityscape, Mary saw a structure that dwarfed everything around it. A massive temple of some kind, its architecture elegant and ancient, with 5 spires reaching toward the twin suns. Something about it called to her, a presence that felt almost like magic but fundamentally different, older, more primal, woven into the fabric of reality itself. She didn't know it yet, but she was sensing the Force for the first time. And in that distant temple, Master Yoda's eyes snapped open from meditation, his ancient face creasing with confusion. Something had arrived on Coruscant. Something powerful. The Jedi Temple's detention wing was far more comfortable than any Earth prison Mary had ever seen, but it was still a cage. The 6 of them sat in a spacious holding cell with transparent steel walls that hummed with a faint energy field, their captors having decided that standard restraints were insufficient for beings who could bend durasteel with their bare hands. Mary watched the clone troopers stationed outside their cell, studying their identical faces beneath white helmets. The wisdom of Solomon provided tactical observations, military discipline, professional spacing, weapons held with practiced ease, but no context for why an army of genetic duplicates would exist. Nothing in human history prepared her for a galaxy where cloning soldiers was apparently standard procedure. This is insane, Freddy muttered, pacing the length of their cell for the 100th time. He tried the walls twice already, testing their structural integrity with carefully applied pressure. Whatever energy field reinforced the transparent steel was beyond even his considerable strength. We get sucked through some kind of dimensional portal, crash land on a planet that's entirely a city, an entire planet that's just one big city, by the way, because that's not weird at all, and now we're in space jail waiting for wizard monks to interrogate us. Jedi, Eugene corrected absently. He sat cross-legged on the floor, eyes distant as he processed everything they'd learned during their transport here. The guards keep calling them Jedi. Some kind of peacekeeping order that uses something called the Force. I heard one of them say we don't register properly, whatever that means. Darla pressed her face against the transparisteel, staring out at the corridor beyond with uncharacteristic stillness. Do you think Mom and Dad know we're gone? What if time moves differently here? What if we've been missing for days and they're worried sick? The question hit Mary like a physical blow. Rosa and Victor Vasquez had opened their home to all of them, built a family from broken pieces. The thought of them discovering their foster children had vanished mid-battle, possibly forever. We're going home, Billy said firmly, moving to stand beside Darla. Despite being the one who'd received the wizard's power first, he still looked to Mary for leadership in moments like this. But he could offer comfort, and that mattered. All of us. Together. That's not a hope, that's a promise. Pedro nodded silently from his corner, his quiet presence anchoring them as always. He hadn't spoken since their arrival, but Mary knew he was listening, processing, preparing. When Pedro finally had something to say, it would be because the moment demanded it. The sound of a door opening drew their attention. Two figures entered the corridor, and Mary felt her breath catch. The first was a Keldor, his reddish-orange skin and black eyes alien yet somehow dignified, wearing robes of dark leather and carrying himself with absolute confidence. The second was human, dark-skinned, bald, with a presence that commanded immediate respect. Both wore similar robes in earth tones, and both carried cylindrical devices on their belts that Mary's instincts identified as weapons despite never having seen their like before. Those are lightsabers, Eugene whispered, his voice tinged with awe. Oh my God, those are actual lightsabers. The human stepped forward, his gaze sweeping across all six of them with an intensity that made Mary's skin prickle. She met his eyes steadily, the courage of Achilles refusing to let her look away. Something passed between them in that moment, recognition, perhaps, that they were both warriors who understood duty. I am Mace Windu, Master of the Jedi Council, the man said, his voice deep and measured. This is Master Plo Koon. We have come to understand how six beings of immense power appeared in Republic space without warning, explanation, or any trace in the Force. The Force? Mary asked carefully. Your guards mentioned that. What is it? Master Plo Koon's response came through what appeared to be a breathing mask, his voice filtered but warm. The Force is the energy field created by all living things. It surrounds us, penetrates us, binds the galaxy together. Those sensitive to it can sense the presence of other living beings, their intentions, even glimpses of the future. He paused, his head tilting slightly. Yet when we reach out to sense you, there is nothing. You exist, clearly, but you create no ripple in the Force. It is as if you are not truly here, or are here but belong somewhere else entirely. Somewhere else, Billy repeated, stepping forward to stand beside Mary. That's because we don't belong here. We're from Earth, a planet that I'm guessing isn't anywhere in your star charts. We were fighting a villain who tried to banish us to another dimension, and something went wrong. We ended up here instead. Mace Windu's expression didn't change, but Mary sensed his skepticism. Interdimensional travel is theoretically possible but has never been documented in Republic records. You claim to be from another reality entirely? We don't just claim it, Mary said firmly. We know it. Everything about this place is wrong, twin suns, alien species we've never encountered, technology centuries beyond anything on Earth, and an energy field that apparently governs your entire galaxy but doesn't even exist where we're from. She gestured to her family. We're called the Shazam Family. We're champions chosen by a wizard to protect our world from magical threats. Our powers come from ancient gods, Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, and Mercury. Magic, Master Plo Koon said softly. The Force has been called magic by primitive cultures who do not understand its nature. Perhaps what you call divine power is simply another manifestation. No, the word came from Eugene, surprising everyone. He stood up, his analytical mind working through the problem even as fear still edged his voice. I've been listening to how you talk about the Force. It's biological, right? Something in living cells that lets you connect to this energy field. Our power isn't biological. It's granted. We literally transform from normal teenagers into these forms by speaking a magic word and being struck by lightning. Mace Windu's eyes narrowed. Demonstrate. We can't, Mary admitted, the words bitter on her tongue. We've been trying since we arrived. Whatever connection we had to our source of power, the Rock of Eternity, where the wizard who empowered us resides, it's been severed. We're trapped in these forms until we can find a way to restore that connection or get home. The two Jedi Masters exchanged glances, some unspoken communication passing between them. Finally, Mace Windu spoke again. Your arrival caused significant property damage and panic among the civilian population. However, you surrendered peacefully and have not displayed hostile intent. The Council will deliberate on your status. He paused, studying them with an expression that might have been curiosity. Tell me, what were you doing when this displacement occurred? Fighting to save lives, Billy answered immediately. A sorcerer named Felix Faust was trying to open a portal to summon demons into our world. We were trying to stop him. Heroes, then, Master Plo Koon observed. Or so you claim. We don't need to claim anything, Freddy shot back, his teenage defensiveness flaring. We've saved our world a dozen times over. We've fought gods, demons, and monsters that would make your worst nightmares look like bedtime stories. We're not criminals, and we're not threats. We're just trying to get home. Mace Windu's hand moved almost imperceptibly toward his lightsaber, and Mary tensed, ready to protect her family if necessary. But the Jedi Master's voice remained calm. That remains to be determined. The Clone Wars have made the Republic cautious of unexpected threats. Beings with your level of power, appearing without warning in the capital, could be weapons deployed by the Separatists. The who? Darla asked, confusion evident in her voice. You truly know nothing of this galaxy, Master Plo Koon said, and there was something like pity in his filtered voice. The Republic is at war with the Confederacy of Independent Systems, the Separatists. Thousands of worlds are in conflict. Billions have died. In such times, the appearance of 6 superpowered beings who exist outside the Force's influence raises questions. Questions we will answer honestly, Mary said, forcing herself to remain diplomatic despite the frustration building in her chest. We have nothing to hide. Test us however you need to. Just understand that we're not your enemies. We're not anyone's enemies. We just want to find a way home to our family. Mace Windu studied her for a long moment, and Mary felt the weight of his judgment. Finally, he nodded slowly. The Council will convene to discuss your fate. Until then, you will remain here as guests of the Republic, guests who are not free to leave, but who will be treated with respect. He turned to go, then paused. One more question. This lightning that transformed you, can you summon it at will? Mary and Billy exchanged glances. Yes, Mary said carefully. The power of Zeus grants us control over magical lightning. Why? Because when you arrived, Master Plo Koon said quietly, every Force-sensitive being on Coruscant felt something. Not your presence, your absence. But the lightning you carried, he paused, choosing his words carefully. It felt like the space between stars. Like something that should not exist, yet does. Dark side users are drawn to such anomalies. You would do well to keep that power contained until we understand its nature. The two Jedi Masters departed, leaving the Shazam family alone with their thoughts and the clone troopers who watched them with weapons ready. So, Freddy said into the silence, on a scale of 1 to 10, how screwed are we? Mary sank down against the wall, letting her head fall back against the cool surface. We're in another dimension, stuck in our superhero forms, being held by a government embroiled in a galactic civil war, and our powers apparently register as some kind of cosmic wrongness to the local magic system. She closed her eyes. I'd say we're at about an 11. But even as despair threatened to overwhelm her, the wisdom of Solomon provided a counterpoint. They were alive. They were together. And they had faced impossible odds before. Somewhere in this strange galaxy, there had to be a way home. They just had to survive long enough to find it. The Jedi Council chamber occupied the highest spire of the temple, a circular room with vast windows offering panoramic views of Coruscant's endless cityscape. 12 seats arranged in a circle, each occupied by a master who had dedicated their life to understanding the Force and maintaining peace in the galaxy. Today, that circle felt more like a tribunal. Master Yoda sat in his customary seat, ancient eyes closed as he meditated on the problem before them. 800 years of experience, and never had he encountered beings who existed in such peculiar relationship to the Force. Not absent from it, every living thing touched the Force by virtue of existing, but somehow orthogonal to it, like a sound pitched beyond hearing. Unprecedented, this is, Yoda murmured, opening his eyes to regard his fellow council members. Arrived without warning, they did. Sense them through the Force, we cannot. Yet alive they are, powerful they are. A mystery, they present. Mace Windu stood at the center of the circle, having just finished his report on the interrogation. They claim to be heroes from another reality entirely, Earth, they call it. Empowered by beings they name as gods, Solomon, Hercules, Atlas, Zeus, Achilles, Mercury. Their power source is what they termed magic, distinct from the Force. Magic is simply another word for the Force among those who don't understand it, Ki-Adi-Mundi interjected, his towering form leaning forward. Primitive cultures across the galaxy have attributed Force phenomena to divine intervention. Perhaps, Master Plo Koon said from his seat, but I sensed something when I stood before them. Not the Force, but an absence shaped like intention. As if reality itself had made room for them, carved out a space where they could exist without touching the energy field that binds everything else. He paused. It reminded me of stories from the legends, the Bedlam spirits, entities that existed outside the Force's influence. Obi-Wan Kenobi stroked his beard thoughtfully. I've reviewed the security footage of their arrival. The energy signatures don't match anything in our databases, not plasma, not ion, not even the lightning some Force users can generate. And their physical capabilities, he gestured to a hollow projection showing Mary catching a falling speeder with one hand. That level of strength without Force enhancement should be impossible. Should we not consider, Shak Ti suggested carefully, that they may be weapons? The Separatists have deployed many unconventional tactics. Creating beings who exist outside our ability to sense them would be a significant strategic advantage. Their ignorance seemed genuine, Mace countered. They had never heard of the Republic, the Separatists, or the Jedi. When I mentioned the Clone Wars, the youngest one, Darla, appeared genuinely confused. Either they are masterful actors, or they truly are displaced from another reality. Kit Fisto's tentacles twitched in what might have been amusement. There is another consideration. If they are who they claim to be, champions from another dimension, they represent an opportunity. 6 warriors of tremendous power, unaligned with any faction. In these dark times, could we not use such allies? Dangerous, that path is, Yoda warned, his ears lowering. Assume their allegiance, we must not. Know their hearts, we do not. Test them, we must. Aegon Kohler leaned forward, his scarred face grim. Test them how? Our traditional methods rely on sensing intention through the Force. With these beings, we are blind. Perhaps that is precisely the test, Obi-Wan mused. We claim to be guardians of peace and justice, yet our order has become so dependent on the Force that we struggle to trust our own judgment without it. These champions force us to rely on observation, conversation, and yes, simple faith in sentient goodness. Mace Windu's expression hardened. Faith is not enough when billions of lives hang in the balance. I propose we place them under observation. Assign them quarters in the temple, monitor their behavior, and evaluate their character through their actions rather than through the Force. And if they prove hostile? Tyan asked. Then we have 6 beings of immense power loose in the galaxy with no way to track them, Mace acknowledged. Which is why we must determine their nature now, while they are contained and, according to them, seeking our help to return home. The lightning, Master Plo Koon said suddenly. When they arrived, the energy they carried felt wrong. Not dark side, but fundamentally incompatible with the Force. I sensed several Jedi in the temple react with discomfort. And if we sensed it, so did every dark side user on Coruscant. A chill settled over the council chamber. Yoda's eyes narrowed. Speak plainly, you must. Count Dooku will have sensed them, Plo Koon said quietly. As will Darth Sidious, if the Sith Lord is indeed operating on Coruscant as we suspect. Beings who exist outside the Force, wielding power that makes even Jedi uncomfortable, the Sith will want to either control them or eliminate them. Then we must act quickly, Obi-Wan said. Keeping them imprisoned only breeds resentment. If they truly are heroes as they claim, treating them as criminals will drive them away from the Republic when we may need them most. Or drive them toward the Separatists, Ki-Adi-Mundi added darkly. Dooku has always been skilled at recruiting those who feel wronged by the Republic. Yoda tapped his Jimmer stick against the floor, the sound echoing in the chamber. A decision, we must make. 3 paths I see before us, imprison them as potential threats. Release them and risk losing track of them entirely. Or invite them to stay as guests, observe them, and offer aid in their quest to return home. The third path seems most logical, Obi-Wan said. It allows us to assess their character while demonstrating the Republic's commitment to helping those in need. If they are truly heroes, they will appreciate the gesture. If they are Separatist agents, they will reveal themselves through their actions. And if they're neither? Mace Windu asked. If they're simply 6 young people, for they are young, I sense that much, trapped in a galaxy they don't understand, desperate to return home? Then we help them, Shak Ti said softly. Because that is what Jedi do. The council fell silent, each master contemplating the unprecedented situation. Finally, Yoda spoke again. Propose a trial, I do. Accompany Jedi Knights on a mission, they will. Simple task, protect civilians, resolve conflict without violence if possible. See how they act when tested, we shall. Judge them by their choices, not by our inability to sense their intentions. What kind of mission? Mace asked. Relief convoy to Ryloth, Obi-Wan suggested. The Twi'lek people are suffering under Separatist occupation. We're planning a supply run under Jedi escort, medicine, food, basic necessities. It's relatively low risk, and it will show us whether these champions truly care about protecting innocent lives. Dangerous, it remains, Yoda cautioned. Separatist forces patrol those hyperspace lanes. Combat, there may be. Which makes it a perfect test, May said, his tone final. If they're truly as powerful as they appear, they'll be able to defend themselves and others. If they're Separatist infiltrators, they'll reveal themselves by sabotaging the mission. And if they're heroes, he paused. Then perhaps the Force has brought them here for a reason, even if we cannot sense its will in this matter. Kit Fisto's expression grew thoughtful. There's wisdom in testing them through action. We Jedi spend so much time in meditation and contemplation that we sometimes forget, character is revealed not through words, but through choices made under pressure. Agreed, Plo Koon said. I volunteer to lead the mission. I have experience with unconventional situations, and I believe I can assess them fairly. Take Ahsoka Tano with you, Obi-Wan suggested. Anakin's Padawan has a gift for connecting with those outside the Jedi tradition. She may be able to bridge the gap between our 2 ways of understanding the galaxy. Yoda nodded slowly. Decided, it is then. Summon the champions, we shall. Offer them a choice, prove their intentions through action, or remain as guests until we determine another solution. His ancient gaze swept across the council. Remember, we must Different from us, they may be, but judge them by their hearts, we should, not by their strangeness. The council members rose, the decision made. As they filed out of the chamber, Mace Windu lingered, staring out at the city planet sprawling beneath them. Somewhere in the temple below, 6 beings who shouldn't exist waited for judgment. He thought of the fear in the youngest one's eyes, the protective way the others had positioned themselves around each other. Family, they had called themselves. Perhaps Obi-Wan was right. Perhaps this was an opportunity to remember what the Jedi were meant to be, not just warriors wielding the Force, but protectors of all life, regardless of whether they could sense it or not. Or perhaps they were about to invite a catastrophe into their midst. Only time would tell. And in the depths of Coruscant's industrial sector, in an abandoned factory where shadows grew thick and the Force twisted upon itself, Count Dooku stood before a holographic projection of Emperor Palpatine. The Sith Lord's hooded face betrayed no emotion, but Dooku had served him long enough to recognize the dangerous curiosity in his silence. "You felt them, my apprentice?" "Yes, Master," Dooku replied. 6 beings. Powerful. Existing outside the Force. The Jedi will attempt to study them, perhaps recruit them. "Let them try," Palpatine said softly. "But we must ensure these anomalies do not interfere with our plans. The Republic must fall. The Jedi must be destroyed. Nothing can prevent that." His eyes glowed yellow in the hologram's light. "Watch them, Lord Tyrannus. And if they prove to be a threat to our design, I will eliminate them, Master." "Good." The hologram flickered. "The Force may not touch them, but they still bleed. Remember that." The transmission ended, leaving Dooku alone with his thoughts and the growing certainty that the Shazam family's arrival was either a gift from fate, or a complication that would need to be carved away like a tumor. The door to their holding cell opened with a pneumatic hiss, and Master Plo Koon entered alone. Mary immediately noticed the change in posture, less guarded, more open. He carried a tray with 6 containers of something that steamed gently, filling the cell with an unfamiliar but pleasant aroma. "The Council has reached a decision," Plo Koon said, setting the tray down. "But first, you must be hungry. You've been here for nearly 8 hours without food or water." Darla was at the tray in a purple blur, her super speed carrying her across the cell before anyone could stop her. She lifted one of the containers cautiously, sniffing. "What is it?" "Nuna stew," Plo Koon replied, his filtered voice carrying a note of amusement. "A Naboo recipe. Mild, nutritious, and suitable for most humanoid digestive systems. I took the liberty of having the temple kitchens prepare something that wouldn't be too alien for your palates." The gesture surprised Mary. It was kind, almost fatherly. She nodded her thanks and took a container, the others following suit. The stew was hearty, with chunks of meat and vegetables in a savory broth. Despite the strangeness of everything else, the basic comfort of warm food was universal. "You said the Council reached a decision," Billy prompted between bites. "Indeed." Plo Koon settled into a seated position, his robes pooling around him. "You present the Jedi Order with an unprecedented situation. We cannot sense your intentions through the Force, which is how we typically assess trustworthiness. You claim to be heroes, but we have no way to verify this beyond your words. So you're keeping us locked up," Freddy muttered. "No," Plo Koon said, and Mary's head snapped up. "We're offering you a choice. Remain here as guests while we research methods to return you to your home reality, a process that could take months or years. Or accompany me and my team on a humanitarian mission. Prove through your actions that you are who you claim to be." "What kind of mission?" Mary asked carefully. "A relief convoy to the planet Ryloth. The Twi'lek people there are suffering under Separatist occupation. We're bringing medical supplies, food, and basic necessities. The journey will take us through contested space, so there is some danger, but the primary goal is peaceful, save lives, ease suffering." Eugene set down his stew. You're testing us. See if we're actually heroes or if we're secretly working for these separatists. Yes, Plo-kun said simply. I will not insult your intelligence by denying it. But consider, is this not also an opportunity for you? You say you wish to help people. Here is a chance to do so while learning about this galaxy. And perhaps in traveling, we may discover something that could aid in your quest to return home. Mary met Billy's eyes across the cell. The silent communication between foster siblings needed no words. They'd had this conversation 100 times before, whenever the wizard had called them to fight some threat. The world, or in this case, galaxy, needed help. People were suffering. What else mattered? The people on Ryloth, Darla said quietly, they're in trouble. Like, real trouble. The Separatists have blockaded their world, Plo-kun explained. Many are starving. Their resources have been stripped to fuel the war machine. Children are dying of preventable diseases because they lack medicine. He paused. We Jedi are spread thin across 1,000 battlefields. Every pair of hands that can help save lives is precious. Pedro spoke for the first time since their arrival, his deep voice cutting through the cell. We'll go. Everyone turned to stare at him. Pedro met their gazes steadily, then looked at Plo-kun. We're heroes. That's not just what we do, it's who we are. You want to test us? Fine. Take us to people who need help, and we'll show you what we're made of. Pedro's right, Mary said, standing. The wisdom of Solomon confirmed what her heart already knew, this was the right path. We can't just sit here while people suffer. We'll go on your mission. We'll prove ourselves. She met Plo-kun's eyes through his goggles. But understand something, we're not doing this for you or your council. We're doing it because those people on Ryloth need help, and we have the power to provide it. A sound emanated from Plo-kun that might have been a chuckle. Spoken like true Jedi. Or perhaps something better, heroes who act because it is right, not because duty demands it. He stood, gesturing to the door. Come then. Your cell is now unlocked. I'll show you to quarters where you can rest properly. We depart at dawn. As they filed out of the detention wing, Mary noticed the clone troopers no longer held their weapons at ready. A small thing, but significant. Trust had to start somewhere. Plo-kun led them through corridors of polished stone, past rooms where robed figures meditated or trained with glowing blades. Mary's enhanced senses picked up conversations in dozens of languages, the hum of technology, and that strange omnipresent energy that seemed to flow through everything like an invisible river. The Force, she said aloud. I can't connect to it, but I can feel it. Like standing next to a power line, you know the electricity is there even if you can't see it. An apt description, Plo-kun confirmed. The Force is in all things. That you can sense its presence despite being disconnected from it suggests your power and the Force are not as incompatible as we initially believed. Different, yes. Incompatible? Perhaps not. They reached a set of quarters, 6 connected rooms arranged around a common area. Simple but comfortable, with sleeping platforms, refreshers, and large windows overlooking Coruscant's glittering expanse. Rest, Plo-kun advised. The journey to Ryloth will take 2 days through hyperspace. Use that time to learn about this galaxy, ask questions, and prepare yourselves. He turned to leave, then paused. One more thing. You'll be accompanied by a Padawan, a Jedi apprentice named Ahsoka Tano. She's young, enthusiastic, and has a talent for seeing beyond the obvious. I believe you'll find her perspective valuable. After he left, the 6 of them collapsed into the common area, the weight of the day finally settling on their shoulders. So, Freddy said, sprawling across a chair, we're going to space. Like, actual space. With hyperspace and aliens and... We're already in space, Eugene interrupted. Coruscant is a planet. All planets are in space. You know what I mean. Space. Star Wars space. Freddy's eyes gleamed with barely contained excitement despite their situation. I can't believe this is real. I mean, it's terrible that we're stuck here and can't get home, but also, lightsabers, man. Actual lightsabers. People are dying, Darla said softly, curling up on a cushioned bench. On Ryloth. Children. Master Plo Koon said children are dying. The excitement drained from Freddy's face. Yeah, you're right. Mary moved to sit beside Darla, putting an arm around the youngest member of their family. Which is why we're going to help them. Whatever else is happening, whatever danger we're in or how lost we are, we're still us. We're still heroes. Are we though? Eugene's question caught everyone off guard. He sat hunched over, his analytical mind clearly working overtime. Think about it. We don't know anything about this galaxy. What if the Jedi are the bad guys? What if this Republic they keep mentioning is actually evil and the Separatists are freedom fighters? We're about to take sides in a war we don't understand. The Jedi rescued children and fed us, Billy pointed out. They're treating us like guests, not prisoners. And they're running humanitarian missions to help people. Those don't sound like bad guy actions to me. Every villain thinks they're the hero of their own story, Eugene countered. I'm not saying don't help people, I'm saying we need to be careful about who we trust and what causes we attach ourselves to. He's got a point, Pedro rumbled. We need information. Real information, not just what the Jedi tell us. Mary stood, pacing to the window. The twin suns were setting, or was it just one sun setting while the other remained? The orbital mechanics were beyond her, but the effect was stunning. The sky blazed with purples and oranges, and the city lights began to emerge like stars coming out at twilight. Here's what we know for certain, she said, her leadership instincts taking over. 1. We're stuck here until we can reconnect to the Rock of Eternity or find another way home. 2. People on Ryloth need help. 3. This mission gives us a chance to see this galaxy beyond the Jedi Temple walls and make our own judgments. She turned to face her family. Eugene's right, we need to be careful. But Pedro's also right, we need to stay true to who we are. So we go on this mission. We help the people who need helping. And we keep our eyes open for anything that might help us get home or understand this place better. And if we discover the Jedi aren't the good guys they claim to be? Freddy asked. Then we deal with that when it happens, Billy said firmly. But until we have evidence otherwise, I'm going to trust the people who fed us, offered us quarters, and are taking us on a mission to save lives. Darla nodded, some of her usual energy returning. Besides, we're the Shazam family. 6 of us together. We can handle anything this galaxy throws at us. Even without being able to transform back. Eugene asked quietly. The question hung in the air. Mary reached inward again, feeling for that connection to the Rock of Eternity, to the divine lightning that was supposed to be theirs to command at will. Still nothing, just a vast emptiness where the wizard's power should flow. Even then, she said with more confidence than she felt. We've faced worse odds before. Have we though? Freddy challenged. I mean, we've fought supervillains and monsters, sure. But we've never been trapped in another dimension with no way home and no ability to transform back to our regular selves. We can't go to school like this. Can't eat dinner with mom and dad. Can't even sleep in our own beds without the weight of these powers. We'll figure it out, Billy insisted. We always do. But as the twin suns finally set and Coruscant's artificial lights took over, bathing the city in a glow that turned night into perpetual twilight, Mary wasn't so sure. For the first time since receiving the wizard's power, she felt truly lost. Somewhere out in that vast galaxy, there had to be answers. Magic that could reconnect them to their source, or technology that could pierce the dimensional barriers, or someone who understood enough about realities beyond their own to help. But first, they had a mission. People who needed saving. And whatever else happened, the Shazam family would be there when innocents were in danger. That was who they were. That was who they had to remain. Even in a galaxy far, far away. The resolute hangar bay thrummed with activity as clone troopers loaded cargo containers onto the transport ships. Mary stood at the entrance, watching the organized chaos with fascination. Each trooper moved with identical efficiency, their white armor gleaming under the hangar lights. It should have been unsettling, an army of identical soldiers, but the wisdom of Solomon provided context she hadn't expected. These men had names, personalities, individual thoughts despite their shared genetics. First time on a Republic Star Destroyer? Mary turned to find a Togruta girl, no, young woman, approaching with a confident stride. Orange skin, white facial markings, blue and white headtails striped with pattern, and bright blue eyes that sparkled with curiosity. She wore brown robes similar to the other Jedi, but with armored elements that suggested a more practical approach to combat. Ahsoka Tano, the Togruta said, extending a hand. Padawan to Anakin Skywalker. Master PLO told me about you guys. 6 champions from another dimension with power the Force can't touch. That's way cooler than most of the missions I get assigned to. Mary shook her hand, noting the firm grip. Mary Bromfield. Or Mary Shazam when I'm like this. She gestured to her white and gold costume. And yeah, this ship is, impressive doesn't really cover it. We don't have anything like this where we're from. Really? Ahsoka's montrals twitched with interest. Master PLO said you're from a planet called Earth. What's it like? Smaller, Billy said, joining them with the rest of the family trailing behind. A lot smaller. 1 sun, 1 moon, and we've barely explored our own solar system, let alone the galaxy. Humans are the only intelligent species. He paused. Well, the only species from our planet. We've got some aliens, but they came from somewhere else. 1 species. Ahsoka looked genuinely surprised. That must be so weird. I grew up in the Jedi Temple with younglings from 100 different worlds. Some breathed different atmospheres, some communicated through bioluminescence, others had entirely different sensory ranges. Diversity is just, normal. It's not normal where we're from, Eugene said, his eyes darting around the hangar, cataloging every detail. This technology alone is centuries beyond anything Earth has. Maybe millennia. Faster-than-light travel, energy shields, directed energy weapons, artificial gravity, we've theorized about this stuff, but actually seeing it. You're going to fit right in with the tech heads on this ship, Ahsoka laughed. Come on, I'll show you around before we jump to hyperspace. Fair warning though, don't touch anything that glows, hums, or looks important. Republic equipment has a tendency to explode if you mess with it wrong. As Ahsoka led them through the massive vessel, Darla stuck close to Mary's side, her usual exuberance dampened by the overwhelming strangeness of everything. Mary squeezed her shoulder reassuringly. It's a lot, isn't it? Ahsoka said, noticing. I remember my first time off-world. Everything seemed so big and scary. But you get used to it. And from what Master PLO told me, you've fought some pretty scary things back home. Demons, Darla said quietly. And a dragon. And this guy who could control electricity and wanted to steal our powers. See? You've got this. Ahsoka's encouragement seemed genuine, without the condescension Mary had feared. Plus, you've got family with you. That's more than most Jedi can say. They entered the ship's main corridor, passing clone troopers who snapped to attention at Ahsoka's presence. She waved them at ease with practiced casualness. Question, Freddy said, floating a few inches off the ground as he drifted alongside them. These clone guys, they're all cool with being, you know, clones. Created to fight in a war. Ahsoka's expression grew more serious. It's complicated. They were bred for combat, raised from childhood to be soldiers. But they're still people, individuals with hopes, dreams, preferences. Some of them struggle with it. Others have made peace with their purpose. She gestured to a trooper working on a control panel. That's Boomer. Best demolitions expert in the 501st. He makes terrible jokes and collects pressed flowers from every planet he visits. The clone next to him is Sketch, draws portraits of his brothers in his spare time. They have names, Pedro observed, speaking for the second time since meeting Ahsoka. The Jedi give them numbers. Ahsoka explained, her voice carrying a hint of frustration. But they give each other names. It's how they hold on to their individuality. She paused at a viewport overlooking the hangar. The clones are some of the bravest, most loyal soldiers in the galaxy. They deserve to be seen as people, not just weapons. Mary felt a surge of respect for the young Padawan. Despite her youth, she couldn't be more than 16, Ahsoka carried herself with confidence and displayed a moral clarity that many adults lacked. You're not what I expected from a Jedi, Mary admitted. What did you expect? Someone more, detached, I guess. The other masters we've met are very calm and controlled. You're more alive? Ahsoka grinned. Yeah, I get that a lot. My master says I have too much personality for a proper Jedi. But I figure if the Force wanted us all to be emotionless monks, it wouldn't have given us feelings in the first place. An alarm chimed throughout the ship, and Ahsoka's expression shifted to business. That's the jump warning. We're about to enter hyperspace. You guys might want to see this, it's pretty spectacular your first time. She led them to the bridge, where Master Plo Koon stood beside the ship's captain, another clone, this one with distinctive blue markings on his armor. Ah, young champions, Plo Koon greeted them. Perfect timing. Captain, take us to hyperspace. Yes sir, the clone captain replied. All hands, prepare for jump. Engaging hyperdrive in 3, 2, 1. Through the massive viewport, the stars stretched. That was the only way Mary's mind could process it, the points of light elongated into lines, then tunnels, then a swirling vortex of blue and white energy that surrounded the ship in a cocoon of impossible speed. Her enhanced vision tried to track individual stars, but they moved too fast even for her Mercury-granted perception. Holy, Freddy breathed, pressing his face against the viewport. We're going faster than light. We're actually going faster than light. Considerably faster, Eugene murmured, his analytical mind clearly struggling to process the physics. If this is hyperspace travel, we're moving through a different dimension where the speed of light doesn't apply. The energy requirements alone should be impossible by your planet's understanding, Plo Koon finished gently. But normal here. We'll reach Ryloth in approximately 43 hours. Until then, I suggest you rest, train, and prepare yourselves. Train? Billy asked. Ahsoka's grin returned. Master Plo thought it might be useful to see what you can really do. There's a training room on Deck 7. Care to show a Jedi what champions from another dimension are capable of? The training room was massive, easily the size of a football field, with reinforced walls and sophisticated holoprojectors. Ahsoka led them to the center, where training remotes floated in defensive positions. Standard Jedi training, she explained, igniting her lightsaber. Twin green blades emerged from the cylindrical hilt, forming a connected staff. These remotes fire stun bolts. You dodge, deflect, or take the hit. It teaches reflexes and situational awareness. She spun her lightsaber in a complex pattern, deflecting 3 simultaneous shots with casual grace. Want to try? I'll go first, Billy volunteered, stepping forward. The lightning bolt on his chest flickered with residual energy as he rolled his shoulders. How hard do these things? The remote fired. Billy's hand snapped up, catching the energy bolt in midair. Electricity crackled around his fist as the power of Zeus absorbed and dissipated the charge. Ahsoka's lightsabers lowered slightly. Okay, that was cool. Our turn, Darla said, and suddenly there were 6 Shazam family members scattered around the room. The remotes adjusted, firing in coordinated patterns that would have overwhelmed most beings. Mary felt the familiar rhythm of combat take over. A stun bolt came from her left, she twisted, letting it pass through the space her head had occupied a millisecond before. Another from above, Freddy intercepted it with his body, the energy splashing harmlessly against his invulnerable skin. Pedro simply stood in one spot, allowing the remotes to exhaust themselves firing at him while each bolt failed to penetrate his Atlas-granted durability. Eugene used his technological intuition to predict the remote's firing patterns, calling out positions to the others. Darla was everywhere at once, purple afterimages filling the room as her Mercury-granted speed let her dodge hundreds of shots without effort. And Billy raised both hands and summoned the lightning. It erupted from his palms, not the dangerous killing electricity of Zeus but a controlled display of magical power that arced between the remotes, overloading their systems in a cascade of sparks and smoke. 6 training drones fell to the floor, smoking. The room fell silent. Okay, Ahsoka said slowly, deactivating her lightsaber. That was really cool. Master PLO. You're seeing this, right? PLO Kun had entered during the demonstration, watching from the doorway. Indeed. Impressive. Your coordination suggests extensive training together. We're family, Mary explained. We fight as a unit. Always. A principle the Jedi would do well to remember more often, PLO Kun said thoughtfully. We speak of being a family, but attachment is forbidden. You seem to derive strength from your bonds. The wizard who gave us our powers chose a family for a reason, Billy said. Alone, we're strong. Together, we're unstoppable. Ahsoka looked between them with something like envy in her eyes. Mary recognized that expression. The Padawan was powerful, skilled, but ultimately alone in the way that mattered. The Jedi philosophy forbade the kind of connections the Shazam family took for granted. Must be nice, Ahsoka murmured. It is, Darla said, taking Mary's hand. It really is. An alarm interrupted the moment, different from the hyperspace warning. Harsh, urgent, demanding immediate attention. PLO Kun's head snapped toward the door. Battle stations, he commanded. All personnel to combat positions. What's happening? Mary asked, her combat instincts already shifting to high alert. Separatist ambush, Ahsoka said grimly, already running toward the bridge. They must have known about our convoy. Come on, if you want to prove you're heroes, you're about to get your chance. As they raced through the corridors, the ship shuddered under weapons fire. Red emergency lighting activated, and clone troopers rushed past them toward defensive positions. Through the viewports, Mary caught glimpses of smaller ships, angular, aggressive designs, swarming around the Resolute like predators around wounded prey. 6 champions from another dimension, Freddy said, his voice mixing excitement with genuine fear. Think we're ready for a space battle? Guess we're about to find out, Mary replied. And as the ship's weapons began returning fire, painting the void with brilliant lances of energy, the Shazam family prepared to prove exactly what they were made of. The bridge erupted with controlled chaos as the Resolute shook under another volley of laser fire. Captain Rex, the clone commander Mary had seen earlier, barked orders while holographic displays showed 6 Separatist frigates emerging from hyperspace in attack formation. Shields holding at 70%, a clone officer reported. Multiple Vulture droids inbound. They're targeting our engines. Launch all fighters, PLO Kun commanded, his filtered voice calm despite the crisis. Focus fire on the lead frigate. We need to punch through their formation and reach the convoy. Mary's enhanced vision tracked the tactical display. 3 Republic transports laden with supplies hung vulnerable behind their position, protected only by the Resolute and 2 smaller corvettes. The Separatist ships were positioned to cut them off, and swarms of droid fighters, sleek, menacing craft that seemed more like mechanical insects than ships, poured from launch bays. "Those transports can't defend themselves," Billy observed, moving beside her. "If the Separatists get past this ship, all those supplies for Ryloth are destroyed, and people starve," Ahsoka finished grimly. She turned to PLO Kun. "Master, let me take a squadron in. Padawan Tano, you will remain on the bridge where." The ship lurched violently. A massive explosion lit the viewport as one of the corvettes took a direct hit to its reactor, splitting the vessel in half. Debris and flame blossomed in the void, beautiful and horrifying. "The Ardent is gone," Rex reported, his voice tight. 200 crew. "The other corvette is pulling back. They've lost shields." Mary made a decision. "We can help. We can fly, actually fly, not just pilot ships. And we're invulnerable to vacuum." PLO Kun turned to face her, his goggles reflecting the red emergency lighting. "You're suggesting we deploy you into open space combat? We're faster than your fighters, harder to kill, and we can operate without ships," Billy added. "Send us out there. Let us protect the transports while your forces deal with the frigates." "This is insane," Rex said flatly. "No offense, sir, but we don't know what they're capable of in actual combat. This isn't a training room, those are live weapons designed to pierce capital ship armor." "Then it's a good thing we're tougher than capital ships," Freddy said, cracking his knuckles. "Come on, we've been cooped up since we got here. Let us do what we do best." PLO Kun studied them for a long moment. The ship shuddered again, and alarms blared as another hit registered against the shields. Finally, he nodded. "Very well. But you will maintain communications and follow tactical commands. This is not your Earth, space combat operates under different rules." "Understood," Mary said. "How do we get out there?" "Airlock on Deck 12, Ahsoka said immediately. "I'll guide you." "You will remain here, Padawan," PLO Kun said firmly. Ahsoka's expression showed her frustration, but she bowed her head in acknowledgement. "Yes, Master." 3 minutes later, the Shazam family stood in the airlock while a nervous clone technician explained the comm system he'd hastily installed in Mary's ear. "Just, try not to die, okay?" the technician said. "These things aren't rated for, well, for whatever you're about to do." "We'll be fine," Darla assured him, though her voice carried less confidence than usual. The outer door opened. Space was simultaneously everything Mary expected and nothing like it. The absolute silence hit first, no wind, no sound of engines, just the complete absence of noise. Then the cold, though her Shazam form's invulnerability kept it from being more than a distant sensation. Stars blazed with clarity unfiltered by atmosphere, and the battle unfolded before them in terrible beauty. "Holy," Eugene breathed, his voice coming through the comm perfectly despite the vacuum. "Focus," Mary commanded, her leadership instincts overriding her awe. "Pedro, you're with me protecting the transports. Billy, Freddy, take out those vulture droids before they reach the Resolute's engines. Darla, Eugene, intercept any missiles or torpedoes heading for our ships." "On it," Billy confirmed, and lightning crackled around his hands as he shot forward like a crimson comet. Mary propelled herself toward the nearest transport using flight that had nothing to do with aerodynamics and everything to do with divine power. The massive ship loomed before her, its hull scarred from near misses, when 3 vulture droids peeled away from the main swarm and dove toward it. The droids opened fire, red laser bolts screaming toward the transport's unshielded cargo section. Mary intercepted the first volley with her body, feeling the energy splash against her invulnerable skin like water. The bolts would have punched clean through durasteel, but against her Atlas-granted durability, they were little more than irritants. "Pedro, left flank," she called out. Her foster brother was already there, his blue-suited form positioning itself between the transport and 2 more attacking droids. He simply spread his arms wide and let them fire, his body serving as an impenetrable shield while the transport's pilot desperately maneuvered for cover. Mary grabbed the nearest vulture droid mid-flight, her strength crushing its metallic hull like tin foil. The droid sparked and died, tumbling away into the void. The second one tried to evade, its mechanical reflexes fast but not fast enough. She pursued it, catching its wing and tearing the craft in half with a single motion. "This is Rex, multiple bogies inbound on transport 2. We can't provide covering fire, we're engaged with." "I've got it." Freddy's voice cut through, and Mary watched her foster brother collide with a vulture droid at supersonic speed. The impact vaporized the droid and barely slowed Freddy down. He whooped with exhilaration. "Did you see that? I just turned a robot into a cloud." "Freddy, focus." Billy's reprimand came between blasts of lightning that arced from his hands, leaping from droid to droid in a chain reaction that disabled 6 fighters in as many seconds. "This isn't a game." "Could have fooled me," Freddy muttered, but he straightened his approach, using his flight speed to intercept another wave of droids with more precision and less showboating. Darla blurred through the void in purple streaks, her incredible speed letting her intercept torpedo after torpedo before they could reach their targets. She'd catch them mid-flight, redirect their trajectory, and send them careening harmlessly into space. It was like watching someone play the most dangerous game of catch in history. "Eugene, the lead frigate is charging some kind of weapon," Ahsoka's voice crackled through the calm, big energy signature, "bigger than anything we've seen. Can you?" Eugene was already moving, his gray suit's technological intuition guiding him toward the Separatist frigate's underside. Mary watched as he examined the massive vessel, his enhanced intelligence processing its construction, identifying weak points. "I see it," Eugene reported. "Ion cannon. Designed to disable ship systems without destroying the hull, they want to capture the transports intact." His voice grew more excited as analysis overrode fear. "The power coupling is exposed on the port side. If I can just..." "Eugene, wait for support." Mary called out, but he was already diving toward the frigate. Automated point defense turrets tracked his approach, filling space with laser fire. Eugene twisted and dodged with growing confidence, his brain calculating trajectories faster than the droid-controlled weapons could adjust. He reached the power coupling, a massive cylindrical structure studded with energy conduits, and grabbed it with both hands. The strength of Hercules, even distributed among 6 champions, was still godlike. Eugene tore the coupling free with a shriek of tortured metal that Mary's enhanced hearing picked up through the vibrations in the ship's hull. Electricity arced wildly, and the ion cannon's barrel went dark. "Coupling destroyed," Eugene reported triumphantly. "The cannon's offline." "Eugene, get clear," Billy shouted. "The ship's launching." 20 hatches opened along the frigate's hull, and battle droids began pouring into space. Not vulture fighters, these were humanoid droids with built-in thrusters, carrying blaster rifles modified for zero-gravity combat. "Oh, that's not fair," Eugene said, already retreating as hundreds of droids opened fire. Mary launched herself toward him, but Billy was faster. Lightning exploded from the champion of Shazam in a sphere of electrical fury, arcing across the void. It shouldn't have worked, space was a vacuum, and electricity needed matter to conduct through. But this wasn't natural lightning. This was Zeus's power, divine and magical, playing by rules that laughed at physics. The lightning jumped from droid to droid, overloading circuits and frying processors. Dozens fell dormant, tumbling away into the endless dark. "Thanks," Eugene gasped. "That was..." "Champions, this is Plo-kun. Well done with the immediate threats, but we have a larger problem. Sensors are picking up a Providence-class destroyer exiting hyperspace. Count Dooku's flagship. He's here." Mary's stomach dropped. She'd heard that name in the Jedi Council chamber, the fallen Jedi who led the Separatist military forces. A master of the Force and a brilliant strategist. The ship that emerged from hyperspace dwarfed everything else in the battle. Massive, angular, bristling with weapons, it hung in the void like a dagger pointed at their hearts. And on its bridge, Mary somehow knew, Count Dooku watched them with ancient eyes. All ships, evasive maneuvers, Plo Koon commanded. We cannot face that destroyer and protect the transports. We must retreat. Master, if we jump to hyperspace now, we abandon Ryloth, Ahsoka protested. If we stay, we lose everything, supplies, ships, and lives. We have no choice. Mary looked at her family, scattered across the battlefield, and then at the 3 transports carrying food and medicine for a suffering planet. The wisdom of Solomon presented the tactical situation with brutal clarity. They were outmatched. The destroyer would obliterate them in minutes. Retreat was the only logical option. But since when had they ever chosen logic over doing what was right? Master Plo, Mary said carefully, what if we bought you time? Explain. That destroyer is big and powerful, but it takes time to target and fire those massive weapons. What if 6 extremely fast, extremely durable targets gave it something else to shoot at while you got the transports to safety? You're suggesting using yourselves as bait, Rex said flatly. That's suicide. It's what we do, Billy said simply. We're champions. We don't leave people to suffer because the odds are bad. Silence filled the calm for 3 heartbeats. Then Plo Koon's voice returned, carrying weight of command and something else, respect. Very well. Champions, you have 2 minutes to draw Dooku's attention while we prepare the transports for hyperspace. After that, you will disengage and return to the Resolute. Is that understood? Understood, Mary confirmed. Family, on me. Let's show these separatists what happens when you threaten innocent people. The 6 of them converged in space, forming up in a loose diamond formation. Ahead, the destroyer's weapons began tracking them, dozens of turrets swiveling to acquire their tiny, impossible targets. 2 minutes, Darla whispered. We can do anything for 2 minutes. Together, Pedro rumbled. Together, they all echoed. And then they charged the warship, 6 streaks of colored lightning against the infinite dark, proving that even in a galaxy governed by the Force, courage and family could tip the balance. The destroyer's point defense cannons opened fire with a sound that Mary felt rather than heard, vibrations transmitted through the hulls of nearby ships and debris. A wall of red laser bolts filled the void, creating a lethal grid that would shred starfighters into scrap. The Shazam family split, each member vectoring off at different angles, forcing the destroyer's targeting systems to divide their attention. Mary dove beneath the massive vessel's ventral surface, skimming so close to the hull that she could see individual armor plates. Turrets tracked her passage, firing in sequences that would have caught any normal ship. But she wasn't a ship, she was a champion with the speed of Mercury. She jinked left, rolled right, accelerated and decelerated in patterns no pilot could duplicate because no ship could withstand those G-forces. A turret exploded ahead of her, Billy's lightning lancing across space to destroy the weapon before it could fire. Her foster brother flew parallel to her, maybe 100 meters higher, his red suit blazing with residual electrical energy. This is crazy, he called out through the comm. You say that like it's new for us. Mary shot back, pulling into a spiral as 3 turrets tried to predict her trajectory and failed. Eugene's voice came through, tight with concentration. The main batteries, the really big ones, they're charging. 45 seconds until they can fire. Those things will punch through planetary shields. If one of them hits us. Then don't get hit, Freddy said, and Mary spotted him doing barrel rolls between laser bolts with the casual grace of someone playing rather than fighting for his life. This is actually kind of fun once you, whoa. A bolt passed close enough to singe his cape. Okay, less fun than I thought. Transports are spooling their hyperdrives, Ahsoka's voice cut through. 30 seconds. You need to keep that destroyer focused on you for just a little longer. Pedro's solution to the problem was characteristically direct. He flew straight at the destroyer's bridge, a raised tower studded with viewports, and slammed into it with the full momentum of his Atlas-granted strength behind him. The impact cratered the armor plating and sent alarms shrieking throughout the destroyer. Every weapon on that side of the ship immediately swiveled toward him. "Pedro!" Mary shouted, but her foster brother was already moving, tanking hits that would vaporize starfighters while he methodically tore apart turret after turret with his bare hands. Darla became a purple blur, her super speed carrying her in impossible zigzag patterns across the destroyer's starboard side. She was too fast for the automated targeting systems, which kept firing at where she'd been rather than where she was. It was working. Half the ship's defensive guns were now focused on tracking a teenage girl who could outrun their targeting computers. "I count 43 weapons destroyed," Eugene reported, his analytical mind keeping track even as he dodged fire. "But the main batteries are almost charged." 15 seconds. Mary's enhanced vision caught movement on the destroyer's bridge. Through the reinforced viewports, she saw a figure in dark robes, tall, bearded, radiating an authority that needed no force to recognize. Count Dooku. He stood calmly amid the chaos, watching them with an expression that mixed curiosity and calculation. Their eyes met across the void. Then he raised one hand, and Mary felt something she'd never experienced before. Not quite magic, not quite physical force, but something in between. The force, reaching out to grasp her, to crush her like an invisible fist. Except it found nothing to grab. Dooku's expression flickered with surprise. His hand clenched tighter, and Mary felt the force swirling around her like a storm, pressing from all sides. But the power of the ancient gods that armored her existed outside this galaxy's fundamental energy field. The force couldn't touch what it couldn't perceive. Interesting, she heard Dooku's voice, cultured and cold, somehow transmitted through the comm channel. He'd hacked their frequency. "You are the dimensional anomalies the Jedi have been harboring. Tell me, children, does it frighten you, being so far from home? Lost in a galaxy at war? Main batteries firing." Eugene screamed. For massive turbolaser cannons unleashed coherent energy beams each thick as a transport ship. They lanced out not at the Shazam family but at the fleeing transports. Mary's heart stopped. They'd been played. Dooku had never cared about them, he'd used them to distract from his real targets. "Billy," she shouted, and her foster brother understood instantly. Both of them flew directly into the path of one energy beam. The impact was like being hit by a sun. Pure energy, weapons-grade power concentrated into a column of destruction, slammed into them. Mary felt her skin heat, felt the edges of her invulnerability tested in a way they'd rarely been before. Pain, actual pain, lanced through her as the beam's energy overwhelmed even Atlas's endurance. But she held. And beside her, Billy held too, his red suit blazing with absorbed energy that crackled across his body. One beam blocked. Freddy intercepted the second, his body taking the full brunt of the destroyer's fury. He screamed, not in pain but in defiant rage, and actually pushed back against the energy, his flight and strength combining to deflect the beam's trajectory just enough to send it careening past the transport. Two beams blocked. The third beam carved through space toward Transport 1. Darla blurred into its path and she wasn't fast enough. The beam was light itself, and even Mercury's speed couldn't outrace light. It caught her full in the chest and sent her tumbling through space like a rag doll, her purple suit scorched black. "Darla!" Mary's scream tore from her throat. But the beam had been weakened by passing through her, and Eugene appeared behind her, his gray suit's technological intuition having calculated the exact angle needed. He spread his arms wide and took the diminished blast across his entire body, absorbing what he could and deflecting the rest into empty space. The transport survived. By meters and microseconds, but it survived. "Hyperspace in 3 seconds, Rex reported. Champions, disengage now." The fourth beam had carved past them, missing entirely. And suddenly the transports were gone, vanishing into the white tunnels of hyperspace, carrying their precious cargo to Ryloth. All Republic forces, jump to hyperspace, PLO Kun commanded. Champions, return to the airlock. We're leaving. Mary grabbed Darla's tumbling form, pulling her close. The youngest champion's eyes were open but unfocused, her breathing shallow. Burns covered her suit, and her normally vibrant energy seemed dimmed. "I'm okay," Darla whispered. "Just, that really hurt." "I've got you," Mary promised, holding her tight while Freddy collected Eugene and Billy shepherded Pedro back toward the Resolute. Dooku's voice crackled through the calm one last time. "Remarkable. You saved them. But at what cost, I wonder? You are powerful, yes, but you can be hurt. Remember that, young champions. Remember that you bleed." The transmission cut off, and the Resolute vanished into hyperspace, leaving the destroyer behind. The medical bay was quieter than Mary expected. Darla lay on a bio-bed while a medical droid, a surprisingly gentle spherical machine, treated her burns with back-to-gel. The others had escaped with minor injuries, but Darla had taken the worst of it. "She'll recover fully," the droid assured them in a soothing mechanical voice. "The burns are severe but superficial. No permanent damage. She should rest for at least 6 hours." 6 hours, Darla muttered weakly. "I've been hurt worse fighting Black Adam." "You've never been hit by a weapon designed to destroy capital ships," Eugene countered, slumping in a chair with exhaustion written across his face. "That turbolaser should have vaporized you." "I ran the numbers, the energy output was insane." "But it didn't vaporize her," Billy said firmly. "Because we're tougher than these people realize. We held our own against a Separatist destroyer." "We got lucky," Mary said quietly. "Dooku was testing us. He could have pressed the attack. He could have targeted us instead of the transports. But he wanted to see what we'd do, how we'd react." She met Billy's eyes. "He was gathering intelligence. And we gave it to him," Pedro rumbled. "Showed him our strengths. Our speed, durability, coordination. Also our weaknesses," Eugene added. "We can be hurt. Overwhelmed. Separated." The door hissed open, and PLO Kun entered with Ahsoka close behind. The Jedi Master approached Darla's bed, his posture conveying something like concern despite his alien features. "How is she?" "She'll be fine," Mary said. "We heal fast. One of the perks of our powers." "You saved 317 lives today," PLO Kun said. "The transports reached Ryloth safely. The supplies will ease suffering for thousands. The Republic is in your debt." "We didn't do it for the Republic," Billy said. "We did it because it was right." "Even so." PLO Kun turned to address all of them. "The Council will want a full report. But I will tell them what I witnessed, 6 beings who risked their lives to protect others, who fought with courage and skill against overwhelming odds. Whatever else you are, you have proven yourselves to be heroes. Does that mean you trust us now?" Freddy asked. "Trust is earned gradually," PLO Kun replied. "But you have taken significant steps. Master Yoda was correct, character is revealed through action, and your actions today spoke volumes." Ahsoka stepped forward, her expression mixing admiration and concern. "That was the craziest thing I've ever seen, and I've fought in battles across the galaxy. You just threw yourselves at a destroyer like it was nothing." "It wasn't nothing," Mary admitted. "But when people need help, you don't calculate the odds. You just act." "Spoken like a true Jedi," Ahsoka said. "Or maybe something better." After the Jedi left, the 6 of them sat in silence, processing what had happened. They'd fought in space. They'd battled droids and energy weapons. They'd faced down a Sith Lord, because that's what Dooku was, Mary realized, even if the Jedi hadn't said it explicitly. And they'd won. But they'd also learned they could be hurt. That this galaxy held threats that could challenge even their God-given powers. "Mary?" Darla's weak voice pulled her from her thoughts. Are we going to be okay? I mean, really okay? Mary took her hand, squeezing gently. We're together. That means we're going to be okay. Always. But as she looked out the viewport at the swirling blue of hyperspace, she couldn't shake Dooku's final words. You bleed. And somewhere in the galaxy, she knew, forces were already moving. The Jedi saw them as potential allies. The Separatists saw them as threats to eliminate or weapons to acquire. And hidden behind both, watching from the shadows, Darth Sidious was calculating how 6 beings who existed outside the Force fit into his grand design. The Shazam family had saved lives today. But the battle for their survival in this strange galaxy had only just begun. Ryloth's surface sprawled beneath them like a wound, scarred earth, burned forests, and settlements reduced to rubble. Mary stood in the Resolute's observation deck, watching the planet grow larger as they descended. The twin suns cast harsh shadows across the devastation, and even from orbit she could see the massive Separatist droid factories dotting the landscape like metallic tumors. It's worse than the briefings indicated, Plo Koon said, joining her at the viewport. The Separatists have been strip mining the planet's resources for 6 months. The Twi'lek people have been enslaved, starved, used as leverage against Republic intervention. And the Jedi couldn't stop it? Mary asked, hearing the accusation in her own voice. We are spread across thousands of worlds, Plo Koon replied, his filtered voice carrying weariness. For every planet we protect, 10 more fall. The Republic's territory is vast, and the Separatists strike where we are weakest. He paused. It is the great failing of this war, we cannot be everywhere at once. But you're here now, Darla said, approaching with the others. She'd recovered fully from her injuries, the divine endurance of Atlas making what should have been weeks of healing take mere hours. And we're here. That has to count for something. Indeed. Plo Koon gestured to the tactical display. We'll be landing outside the capital city of Lesu. The Separatists maintain a garrison there, but they've agreed to allow humanitarian aid under Republic supervision. It's a delicate situation, any overt military action could result in them executing civilian hostages. So we're walking into a trap, Freddy muttered. Possibly, Ahsoka admitted, joining the group. She'd been unusually quiet since the space battle, and Mary suspected the young Padawan was processing their combat effectiveness. But we don't have a choice. The Twi'lek resistance has been coordinating with us. They need these supplies to survive another month. The ship descended through atmosphere with a rumble that vibrated through the deck plating. Mary watched the ground rush up to meet them, cracked earth, desperate settlements clinging to survival, and in the distance, the gleaming towers of the droid garrison. They landed in a cleared zone outside Lesu, where hundreds of Twi'lek civilians had gathered. The species was immediately distinctive, humanoid but with twin head tails called leku that draped over their shoulders, skin in various shades of blue, green, and red. Children clung to their parents, all of them too thin, their clothing ragged. Oh, Darla breathed, her hand finding Mary's. They're starving. The rear ramp lowered, and Plo Koon led them out into Ryloth's heat. The air was dry and carried the acrid smell of burned metal. Clone troopers formed a perimeter as the first supply containers were unloaded, but Mary's attention focused on the faces of the civilians. Hope. Desperate, fragile hope. A Twi'lek woman approached, her green skin marked with scars and her orange eyes cautious. She wore the remnants of what might have once been fine clothing, now patched and worn. When she spoke, her voice carried authority despite its hoarseness. I am Cham Syndulla, leader of the resistance. You risk much bringing these supplies. The Republic does not abandon its people, Plo Koon said formally. The Republic abandoned us 6 months ago when the Separatists invaded, Cham replied bluntly. But I will not refuse your aid now. My people are dying. Her gaze swept across the Shazam family, lingering on each of them with obvious curiosity. These are not Jedi. What are they? Allies, PLO Kun said simply. From far beyond Republic space. They fought to ensure these supplies reached you. Cham studied them for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Then you have my gratitude. Come, I will show you why we fight. She led them into Lesu, and the true scale of suffering revealed itself. Families huddled in bombed-out buildings. Children with distended bellies played in rubble. Medical facilities overflowed with wounded who had no medicine, no treatment, only the mercy of fellow Twi'leks trying to ease pain with inadequate supplies. Eugene's voice cracked. This is a humanitarian crisis. These people need food, medicine, clean water. They need freedom, Cham interrupted. The Separatists take 90% of everything we produce. They use our people as slave labor in the factories. Those who resist are executed publicly. The supplies you brought will help us survive, but they do not solve the fundamental problem. We are prisoners on our own world. Billy's fists clenched. Then we help you fight. We take down those factories, drive the Separatists off. And they kill 10,000 hostages, Cham said wearily. They made that abundantly clear. Any overt resistance results in mass executions. So we endure. We survive. We wait for the Republic to send enough forces to actually liberate us rather than simply extending our suffering. Mary felt the wisdom of Solomon processing the tactical nightmare. The Separatists had created a perfect hostage situation, too entrenched to dislodge without massive casualties, too visible to ignore, and using the civilians as human shields. Any direct action would result in tragedy. There has to be something we can do, Darla said desperately. You can distribute the supplies, Cham replied. You can let my people know they are not forgotten. Sometimes, that is enough to keep hope alive for another day. The next 4 hours were some of the hardest of Mary's life. She helped unload containers of food, watching as families received rations that would last maybe 2 weeks. She carried medical supplies to overwhelmed healers who thanked her with tears in their eyes. She held children who were too weak to stand, using her strength to simply be present for those who had nothing else. Pedro worked silently beside her, his massive strength making the physical labor effortless but his expression growing darker with each passing hour. Freddy cracked fewer jokes. Eugene's analytical mind seemed to shut down in the face of suffering that couldn't be solved with intelligence alone. And Darla, sweet, optimistic Darla, moved among the children with forced brightness that didn't quite hide her devastation. Billy found Mary as the twin suns began setting, painting Ryloth's sky in shades of orange and purple. This is wrong, he said flatly. We're heroes. We have the power to change this. We should. Should what? Mary challenged gently. Storm the factories. Fight the droids. And when the Separatists execute hostages in retaliation, what then? Do we save those people too? And the next wave of executions? Where does it end? I don't know, Billy admitted, frustration bleeding through his voice. But standing by while people suffer, that's not who we are. No, Mary agreed. It's not. But rushing in without thinking through consequences, that's not who we are either. A commotion near the garrison drew their attention. A group of battle droids was approaching the aid distribution point, their weapons not raised but clearly visible. Leading them was something else, a tall, skeletal figure in a cape, with mechanical limbs and eyes that glowed with malevolent intelligence. General Grievous, Ahsoka hissed, her hand moving to her lightsaber. What's he doing here? The cyborg general strode through the crowd with contemptuous ease, civilians scrambling out of his path. He stopped before PLO Kun, his vocabulator crackling with mechanical hatred. Jedi, Grievous said, making the word a curse. I am here to ensure your humanitarian mission complies with the terms of our agreement. No military equipment. No weapons beyond personal defense. And no attempts to undermine Separatist authority. His glowing eyes swept across the Shazam family. And what are these? New Jedi tricks. They are not Jedi, Plo-kun replied calmly. They are humanitarian volunteers helping distribute supplies. Grievous moved closer to Mary, his mechanical breathing raspy and unsettling. I have reviewed footage from your encounter with Count Dooku's fleet. 6 beings who can survive space combat and energy weapons that would destroy starfighters. His hand rested on one of 4 lightsabers at his belt, trophies, Mary realized with horror, taken from Jedi he'd killed. You interest me. Feelings not mutual, Freddy muttered. Grievous' head snapped toward him with inhuman speed. Brave words for something so small. But bravery means nothing in war. Only power matters. Strength. The ability to crush your enemies. He turned back to Plo-kun. Distribute your supplies and leave. If you attempt anything beyond humanitarian aid, the consequences will fall on the Twi'lek people, not on you. He stalked away, droids following in formation, leaving tension crackling in his wake. I really don't like that guy, Darla whispered. He's a monster, Ahsoka said quietly. He's killed dozens of Jedi. Maybe hundreds. And he enjoys it. Then why let him walk away? Billy demanded. We could start a battle that ends with civilian casualties, Plo-kun interrupted. This is what I tried to prepare you for. War is not simple. The enemy is not always a monster you can simply defeat. Sometimes, the monster holds hostages, and your power means nothing against that. Mary felt the weight of his words. They'd faced villains before, demons, sorcerers, world-ending threats. But those fights had been clean. Defeat the bad guy, save the day, go home. This was different. This was watching suffering you couldn't fix with strength or speed or lightning. This was understanding that sometimes, the heroic thing was restraint. As night fell over Ryloth, the supply distribution continued under portable lights. Mary found herself sitting with a Twi'lek family, a mother, father, and 3 children, sharing their modest meal of the rations they'd received. You come from far away, the mother asked in broken basic. Very far, Mary confirmed. Another world entirely. Do your people suffer like this? Mary thought of Philadelphia, of the Vasquez home, of problems that had seemed overwhelming before she'd seen true desperation. No. Not like this. Then you are fortunate. The mother looked at her children, thin but alive. Hold on to that fortune. Treasure it. Some of us would give anything for a world where our children did not know hunger. The words hit Mary like a physical blow. She'd been so focused on getting home, on reconnecting to the rock of eternity, on solving their own problems. But these people had no magic lightning to save them. No divine powers to fall back on. Just each other and the desperate hope that someone, somewhere, would care enough to help. We're going to do something, Mary said quietly. I don't know what yet. But we're not leaving until we've made a real difference. The mother smiled sadly. Heroes always say that. But heroes leave, and we remain. Still, I thank you for trying. Later, as the family gathered in their temporary quarters aboard the Resolute, Mary called them together. We can't just leave these people, she said without preamble. I know Plo-kun said we're just here to distribute supplies, but that's not enough. It's never going to be enough. What are you suggesting? Billy asked carefully. I don't know yet. But there has to be a way to help that doesn't involve triggering mass executions. We're smart, all of us. We've got Solomon's wisdom, technological genius, tactical skills. We need to use them. The hostage situation is the key, Eugene said, his analytical mind engaging. If we could somehow neutralize that threat, get the hostages to safety before the Separatists could react, then the Jedi and the Resistance could move freely. Grievous would see us coming, Pedro rumbled. Any overt movement, any military buildup, they'd know. Unless they were looking somewhere else, Darla said slowly. What if we created a distraction? Something big enough to pull their attention away. We'd need intelligence, Freddy added. Where are the hostages being held? How many droids are guarding them? What's the facility layout? And we'd need to move fast, Billy said. Faster than the Separatists could react. Faster than they could give execution orders. Mary felt something crystallize in her mind, not a complete plan, but the beginning of one. We need to talk to Cham Syndulla. The Resistance knows things the Jedi don't. And we need to do this without official sanction, because if it goes wrong, it can't blow back on the Republic. You're talking about going rogue, Ahsoka's voice came from the doorway. The Padawan stood there, having apparently been listening. Acting without council approval. That's a serious violation of protocol. Are you going to stop us? Mary asked. Ahsoka was quiet for a long moment. Then she stepped into the room, closing the door behind her. No. But I'm going to help you. Because sometimes, protocol gets in the way of doing what's right. And if there's one thing I've learned from my master, it's that the best way to solve impossible problems is to stop thinking about all the reasons it can't be done and just do it. She grinned, and for the first time since arriving on Ryloth, Mary felt genuine hope. Welcome to the team, Ahsoka. Thanks, the Padawan replied. Now let's go save some hostages. The Twi'lek resistance operated from a network of caves in the Kazan Highlands, carved into rock that predated the Republic itself. Cham Syndulla led them through passages lit by bioluminescent fungi, past checkpoints where armed resistance fighters watched with cautious eyes. Mary noticed these weren't soldiers, they were farmers, teachers, merchants who'd taken up weapons because the alternative was submission. You understand what you're proposing? Cham asked as they descended deeper. If you fail, the Separatists will massacre everyone in the detention centers. Thousands of my people. We won't fail, Billy said with the confidence of someone who'd never faced truly permanent consequences. Everyone fails eventually, Cham replied. The question is whether you can afford the cost of failure. They emerged into a central cavern where holographic displays showed tactical data, surveillance footage of droid patrols, thermal scans of facilities, and a three-dimensional map of Lesu with enemy positions marked in red. Dozens of resistance fighters worked at makeshift computer terminals, their leku twitching with concentration. This is impressive, Eugene breathed, moving immediately toward the displays. You've got real-time surveillance on the garrison, guard rotations, communication intercepts, this is military-grade intelligence gathering. We've had 6 months to learn our enemy, Cham said bitterly. 6 months of watching, planning, and lacking the strength to act. She gestured to the largest display. There are 3 detention facilities holding approximately 8,000 hostages combined. The Separatists rotate which families are held weekly, ensuring that any attack will kill people from across every settlement on Ryloth. Mary studied the layouts with Solomon's tactical wisdom processing the challenge. The facilities are separated by kilometers. Even if we moved at full speed, we couldn't evacuate all 3 before the Separatists could react. Which is why no one has tried, Cham agreed. Any rescue attempt fails by simple mathematics. The droids can execute hostages faster than anyone can save them. What if we didn't have to save them? Ahsoka said suddenly. What if we made the Separatists think they'd already won? Everyone turned to stare at her. Explain, Plo Koon said. He'd followed them to the cave system despite, or perhaps because of, the operation's unofficial status. Ahsoka moved to the display, her fingers manipulating the hologram. The detention centers have automated defense systems, right? Droid guards, security protocols, communication networks all running on centralized Separatist systems. Standard Techno-Union architecture, Eugene confirmed, his eyes lighting up as he followed her logic. Redundant systems, encrypted channels, but ultimately everything routes back to the central command node in Grievous headquarters, Ahsoka finished. If we could take control of that node, we'd control all the security systems. We could tell the droids the hostages were already dead. Tell them executions were complete. And in the chaos, actually evacuate the real hostages. That's insane, one of Cham's lieutenants said. Grievous headquarters is a fortress. It's crawling with battle droids, has shields, anti-aircraft batteries, it's impregnable. For a conventional assault, Freddy said, grinning as he understood the plan. But we're not conventional. We can fly right over their defenses, smash through their shields, and get Eugene to that command node before they know what hit them. You'd be flying into the most heavily defended position on the planet, Plo Koon warned. Grievous himself will be there. If he engages you, then we fight him, Billy said simply. We've faced worse. Have you? Cham asked quietly. Grievous has killed Jedi Masters with centuries of experience. He collects their lightsabers as trophies. What makes you think you can survive him? Because we're not Jedi, Mary said, the plan crystallizing in her mind with divine clarity. The Force can't save you from Grievous, he's learned to counter Force users specifically. But we don't use the Force. We use magic, speed, strength, and powers he's never encountered before. She turned to her family. It's risky. Maybe the riskiest thing we've ever done. But if we pull this off, we save 8,000 lives, Darla finished. That's worth any risk. Pedro nodded his silent agreement. I'm in, Eugene said. Someone needs to hack that command node, and I'm the only one here with technological intuition good enough to crack Separatist encryption in real time. We all go, Billy declared. Together, or not at all. Plo Koon was silent for a long moment, his filtered breathing the only sound in the cavern. Finally, he spoke. If I officially sanctioned this operation, it would be a violation of the Humanitarian Aid Agreement and could trigger galactic-level diplomatic consequences. He paused. Therefore, I did not hear this conversation. I was not present for this planning. And if six-dimensional anomalies happen to independently decide to assault a Separatist fortress, that is entirely beyond the Jedi Council's control. Cham smiled, the first genuine expression of hope Mary had seen from her. I can get you to within 3 kilometers of the headquarters undetected. After that, you'll be on your own. 3 kilometers is nothing, Freddy said. We can cover that in seconds. Then we move at dawn, Mary decided. The Separatists change guard shifts then, there'll be confusion we can exploit. Cham, your people need to be ready to evacuate hostages the moment we give the signal. Ahsoka. I'm coming with you, the Padawan said firmly. You need someone who knows droid tactics and can coordinate with the Resistance. The Council. Can lecture me later, Ahsoka interrupted. If we're doing this, we're doing it right. The hours before dawn passed intense preparation. The Resistance provided them with stolen Separatist communication frequencies and identification codes. Eugene studied facility layouts until he could navigate them blindfolded. Mary drilled the family on their roles, making sure everyone understood the timing had to be perfect. She found Darla sitting alone on a ridge overlooking the valley where Grievous Fortress dominated the landscape, a massive structure of dark metal and aggressive angles, spotlights sweeping the perimeter. Scared? Mary asked, sitting beside her. Terrified, Darla admitted. That turbolaser in space, I've never hurt like that before. Never felt like my powers might not be enough. She looked at Mary with eyes too old for her face. What if we can't do this? What if we get people killed? Then we live with it, Mary said honestly. And we try to make it right. But Darla, we're going to do this. We're going to save those people. Because that's what champions do. We don't quit because we're scared. We act anyway. Even when it might not work. Especially then. Darla leaned against her, and for a moment they were just two scared kids far from home, facing impossible odds. Then the moment passed, and they were champions again. Dawn came with crimson light spilling across Ryloth's scarred landscape. The Shazam family stood at the cave entrance, watching the fortress in the distance. Behind them, the resistance prepared for the most dangerous operation they'd ever attempted. "Remember," Mary said, addressing her family. "Eugene gets to the command node, that's priority 1. The rest of us run interference, keep the droids busy, and stay alive. If Grievous shows up, we handle him together," Billy finished. "No one fights that monster alone." Cham's teams are in position at all 3 detention facilities, Ahsoka reported, checking her comm. "Once Eugene broadcasts the false execution order, they'll have maybe 10 minutes to evacuate before the Separatists realize it's a trick. Then we'd better make those 10 minutes count," Freddy said, electricity crackling around his hands as he prepared to fly. "For the hostages," Pedro rumbled. "For Ryloth," Darla added. "For everyone who can't fight back," Eugene said. Mary looked at each of them, her family, her team, her fellow champions. Then she looked at Ahsoka, who despite not sharing their powers had the same fierce determination in her eyes. "For everyone who needs heroes," Mary said. "Let's go." They launched as one, 6 colored streaks of lightning and 1 Padawan using the Force to enhance her leap. They covered 3 kilometers in 40 seconds, streaking over surprise droid patrols who barely had time to raise their weapons before the champions smashed through the fortress's shields like they were tissue paper. Mary hit the outer wall at full speed, her Hercules-granted strength punching a hole through reinforced durasteel. Alarms shrieked. Battle droids poured from every entrance, their blasters filling the air with laser fire. "Eugene, go!" Billy shouted, blasting a path clear with lightning that arced from droid to droid. "We've got your back." Eugene sprinted through the breach, his gray suit's circuitry patterns glowing as his technological intuition mapped the facility's layout in real time. Mary and Pedro followed, forming a protective wall between him and the responding droids. Freddy and Darla took to the air, drawing fire from the fortress's defensive turrets. Darla's speed made her impossible to hit, while Freddy simply tanked shots that would destroy starfighters, laughing as his invulnerability proved absolute. Ahsoka moved like water through the chaos, her dual lightsabers deflecting blaster bolts while she used the Force to tear apart droids with crushing pressure. The command center is 3 levels down. Southeast quadrant. "I see it," Eugene called, vaulting over a destroyed droid. "Mary, I need 30 seconds. "You've got it." Mary grabbed a charging droid and hurled it into 6 more, bowling them over like pins. Pedro stood at the corridor junction, his massive frame blocking the entire passage while he systematically dismantled every droid that approached. Eugene reached the command center, a circular room dominated by holographic displays and control terminals. His hands flew across the interface, Solomon's wisdom guiding his fingers while his technological intuition cracked encryption protocols faster than the system could generate them. "I'm in. Broadcasting false execution orders now." The wall exploded inward. General Grievous stepped through the debris, all 4 arms extended, each hand holding a lightsaber ignited in different colors, blue, green, yellow, purple. Trophies from Jedi he'd killed. His mechanical eyes fixed on Eugene with predatory focus. "So," Grievous rasped, "the thieves reveal themselves. Did you really think I wouldn't anticipate an assault on my command center?" "Actually," Eugene said, his fingers still working, "I was counting on it." "Mary?" "Now." Mary crashed through the ceiling, landing between Eugene and Grievous with enough force to crack the floor. "You want him? You go through me." Grievous' laugh was a mechanical wheeze. "With pleasure." He attacked with speed that shocked Mary, for lightsabers moving in patterns no 2-armed being could match, each blade carving through space where she'd been milliseconds before. Mary dodged, blocked with her invulnerable bracers, and tried to find an opening, but Grievous was relentless, his cybernetic body capable of angles and movements that defied biology. A lightsaber grazed her shoulder, and pain exploded, actual cutting pain that penetrated her invulnerability. The blade's plasma edge was hot enough to hurt even her. "You can be cut," Grievous observed. "Good. I was hoping for a challenge." "Challenge accepted," Billy's voice came from above, and lightning hammered down into Grievous' chassis. The cyborg convulsed, system sparking, but his mechanical body was grounded and shielded. The lightning hurt him, slowed him, but didn't stop him. "Eugene, how much longer?" Mary demanded, trading blows with a monster who'd killed dozens of Jedi. "Got it. False execution orders transmitted. Cham's teams are moving. Then we're leaving." Ahsoka called from the doorway. "Everyone out, now." They retreated in fighting formation, Mary and Pedro holding the rear, Billy and Freddy providing covering fire, Darla grabbing Eugene and Ahsoka and blurring them to safety at superspeed. Grievous pursued, his mechanical breathing growing harsher, rage evident in every movement. "You have saved no one," he roared. "When I discover this deception, I will execute double the hostages. Triple. I will make Ryloth an example of what happens when." The fortress shook as explosions ripped through its foundation. Cham's resistance fighters, having evacuated the hostages, were now demolishing the detention facilities to prevent their future use. "By the time you figure out what happened," Mary called back, 8,000 people will be free, and your hostage leverage will be gone. Game over, Grievous. They burst from the fortress into daylight, where Republic gunships waited, Plo Koon having positioned them despite his official non-involvement. The family loaded in as Grievous emerged from the fortress, raising his comm to call for reinforcements. But the Twi'lek resistance had been busy. All across Lesu, simultaneous uprisings erupted, years of suppressed rage finally unleashed now that the hostage situation was resolved. The Separatists suddenly faced not just 6 superpowered beings but an entire planet in revolt. As the gunship climbed toward orbit, Mary watched Ryloth's surface transform. Droid factories exploded. Resistance fighters emerged from hiding. And in the distance, Republic forces that Plo Koon had coincidentally positioned nearby began their official liberation operation. "We did it," Darla breathed. "We actually did it." "You did more than that," Cham's voice came through the comm, "you gave my people hope. You proved that the Separatists aren't invincible. You reminded us what heroes look like." But as they escaped Ryloth's atmosphere, Mary's enhanced hearing picked up a transmission on encrypted Separatist frequencies. Count Dooku's cultured voice, addressing someone unseen. "The dimensional anomalies are more dangerous than anticipated. They operate outside standard tactical parameters. They inspire resistance. They must be dealt with permanently." And another voice responded, older, colder, radiating power that made Mary's skin crawl despite never having heard it before. "Let them have their small victory. It will make their fall all the more satisfying. Continue your surveillance, Lord Tyrannus. When the time comes, we will eliminate this variable. The Jedi's faith in them will become the weapon we use to destroy both." Emperor Palpatine. Darth Sidious. The hidden Sith Lord who orchestrated everything. And he was watching them. The Jedi Temple's council chamber felt different this time. Less like a tribunal, more like a gathering of uncertain allies trying to understand something that defied their oldest assumptions. Mary stood at the center of the circle with her family, while Master Yoda regarded them with eyes that had witnessed 8 centuries of galactic history. "Succeeded on Ryloth, you did," Yoda said slowly. 8,000 lives saved. A planet's resistance, you ignited. Yet acted without authorization, you did. Violated the terms of humanitarian aid. Risked diplomatic incident. His ears lowered thoughtfully. "Tell me, young Mary, no you did, the consequences, yes." "We knew," Mary answered honestly. "But we also knew that 8,000 people were being used as hostages, and that following protocol meant accepting their suffering as unavoidable. We couldn't do that. Could not, or would not." Mace Windu asked, his tone more curious than accusatory. Both, Billy said firmly. We're heroes. That's not just what we do, it's who we are. Where we come from, when people need help, you don't wait for authorization. You act. A philosophy that leads to chaos if everyone adopts it, Ki-Adi-Mundi observed. The Jedi serve the Republic. We operate within legal frameworks, respect chain of command. And sometimes those frameworks get people killed, Freddy interrupted, then immediately looked like he regretted his boldness. I mean, respectfully, masters. But we've seen what happens when good people follow bad rules. Sometimes you have to break them. Plo-kun spoke from his seat. The champions raise a valid point. We Jedi have become so bound by protocol, so dependent on Senate authorization, that we have lost the ability to act decisively when action is most needed. Perhaps that is why the Force brought them here, to remind us what we've forgotten. Or perhaps, Obi-Wan said gently, they are simply young, powerful, and have not yet learned the hard lessons that come from unilateral action. Every Jedi here has made the same mistake, acting from passion rather than wisdom, and watching it spiral into tragedy. Is it a mistake if it works? Ahsoka asked. She stood beside the Shazam family, having already received a lengthy lecture from Anakin about unauthorized operations. Is it a mistake if 8,000 people are free because of it? The ends do not always justify the means, young one, Yoda said. But neither do means matter, if the ends are suffering that could have been prevented. He tapped his Jimmer stick against the floor. A puzzle, you present. Powerful, you are. Well-intentioned, you seem. Yet bound by neither the Force nor our traditions. A dangerous combination, that is. Are you saying we can't stay? Darla asked, her voice small. Because we'll follow your rules if that's what it takes. We just want to find a way home. Found something, we may have, Yoda said, and hope flared in Mary's chest. Ancient Jedi texts speak of the world between worlds, a realm outside normal space and time, where all moments exist simultaneously. A mystical plane that touches all realities, not just this one. Could it return us to Earth? Eugene asked eagerly. Perhaps, Obi-Wan said cautiously. But the world between worlds has been sealed for millennia. The portal on Lothal that once provided access was destroyed. And even if we could access it, navigating such a realm requires understanding of the Force that you, by your nature, do not possess. However, Master Plo-kun added, there is another option. The Bendu, an ancient Force entity that claims to represent the center, neither light nor dark. Legends say the Bendu exists outside conventional reality, observing the galaxy from a place between dimensions. If anyone could help beings from another reality return home, it would be such an entity. Where do we find this Bendu? Billy asked. That, Mace Windu said, is the question. The creature is mentioned in texts thousands of years old, but no confirmed sighting has occurred in living memory. It may be myth. It may be extinct. Or it may simply be hidden. Mary felt the wisdom of Solomon processing the information, and something clicked. You're not just telling us about possible ways home. You're testing us again. Seeing if we'll chase these leads, put ourselves in danger, prove our worth. Yoda's expression might have been a smile. Wise, you are becoming. Yes, observe you, we must. Unprecedented, your presence is. Powerful, undeniably. But trustworthy? That, time must tell. So what happens now? Pedro asked, his deep voice cutting through the diplomatic language. Now, Mace Windu said, you remain as guests of the Jedi Order. You may access our archives, train in our facilities, and assist with missions where your unique abilities would be valuable. In exchange, you submit to observation, coordinate with Jedi oversight, and refrain from unauthorized operations. Essentially, you're putting us on probation, Freddy said. Essentially, we are trying to trust beings who exist outside every framework we use to understand the galaxy, Obi-Wan countered. That is not simple, nor should it be. You ask us to have faith in your goodness without being able to sense your intentions through the Force. We ask you to have patience while we learn to trust what we cannot perceive. It's a compromise, Mary said slowly. We help you, you help us. We prove ourselves, you search for ways to send us home. And hope that in the process, Yoda added quietly, understand each other, we do. For a reason, the Force may have brought you here. Or perhaps simple chance, it was. But here you are, and here you shall remain, until home, you find. The council dismissed them, but as they filed out, Ahsoka caught up with them in the corridor. That went better than I expected, she admitted. Master Windu wanted to restrict you to the temple grounds. Master Yoda argued that you'd proven yourselves. Apparently watching you take on Grievous and live to tell about it impressed them. We barely survived Grievous, Mary said honestly. If we'd had to fight him for more than a minute, I don't know if we would have won. But you did survive. And you saved thousands of lives doing it. Ahsoka paused at a viewport overlooking Coruscant's endless cityscape. Can I ask you something? What's it like, not having the Force? I've been training with it my whole life, I can't imagine existing without that connection. What's it like having the Force? Darla countered. We've never had it, so we don't know what we're missing. It's like, Ahsoka struggled for words. Like being able to hear a song that's always playing, everywhere, connecting everything. You can feel living beings around you, sense emotions and intentions, sometimes catch glimpses of the future or past. It's guidance, comfort, power, all at once. Our magic is different, Billy said. It's granted by gods, divine beings who chose us to be their champions. We don't connect to a universal energy field. We carry power that was given to us, and it's separate from everything else. Which makes you anomalies here, Ahsoka said. Things the Force can't predict or control. No wonder the Sith are interested in you. She turned to face them fully. You need to be careful. Dooku knows about you now. And if Dooku knows, then Darth Sidious, the Sith master we haven't identified, knows too. The Sith have been orchestrating this war from the shadows. They won't like unpredictable elements messing up their plans. Let them come, Freddy said with false bravado. We've beaten everything our world threw at us. Your world wasn't playing the kind of long game the Sith are masters of, Ahsoka warned. They don't just fight, they manipulate, corrupt, turn your strengths into weaknesses. They'll study you, find vulnerabilities, and exploit them when you're least prepared. Mary knew she was right. Count Dooku had let them escape. He could have called in more forces, pressed the attack. Instead, he'd watched, learned, gathered data. They'd won battles, but the Sith were fighting a war measured in years and decades. We'll be careful, Mary promised. And we'll keep proving ourselves to the Jedi. Eventually, they'll trust us enough to really help us get home. Or, Eugene said quietly, we accept that we might be stuck here. That Earth might be permanently out of reach. The words hung in the air like a death sentence. None of them wanted to voice that possibility, but the wisdom of Solomon forced Mary to acknowledge it. They might never reconnect to the Rock of Eternity. They might never transform back to their civilian forms. They might spend the rest of their lives as champions in a galaxy that wasn't their own. We're not giving up, Billy said fiercely. We find this Bendu. We explore every option. And if all else fails, we find another dimensional portal. Felix Faust opened one, that means it's possible. We just have to figure out how. In the meantime, Pedro rumbled, we do what we can. Help where we're needed. And stay together, Darla added, taking Mary's hand. No matter what happens, we're family. That doesn't change. Mary squeezed her hand, drawing strength from the contact. Together, she agreed. They returned to their quarters as Coruscant's twin sun set, painting the city planet in familiar shades of orange and purple. Mary stood at the viewport long after the others had gone to rest, watching speeders navigate the endless traffic lanes, seeing the lights of a trillion lives going about their business in a galaxy that had no idea 6 beings from another reality walked among them. She reached inward again, searching for that connection to the rock of eternity. Still nothing, just vast emptiness where divine lightning should flow. They were cut off, isolated, alone in a way that had nothing to do with being surrounded by aliens. But they weren't powerless. They still had their abilities, their training, their bond as a family. And now they had allies, Jedi who were learning to trust what they couldn't sense, a Padawan who saw them as people rather than anomalies, and an entire planet's population who viewed them as liberators. It wasn't home. It might never be home. But it was a start. Deep in the industrial sector of Coruscant, in a facility shielded from force detection and surveillance, Darth Sidious stood before a holographic projection showing footage of the Ryloth operation. He watched the Shazam family in action, their speed, their strength, their coordination. Most importantly, he watched them exist in his force vision as blank spaces, voids where his ability to manipulate and predict simply stopped. They are a problem, Count Dooku's hologram said. Their powers cannot be sensed, their actions cannot be foreseen. They represent chaos in your carefully ordered plan. No, Sidious said softly, his yellow eyes gleaming. They represent an opportunity. The Jedi are already beginning to rely on them. 6 beings who can operate where Force users cannot, who can fight in ways Jedi training doesn't cover. The Council will grow dependent on their unique abilities. He smiled beneath his hood. And when the time comes for Order 66, when the clone troopers turn on their Jedi generals, these champions will be confused, isolated, and vulnerable. They will watch their new allies fall, and they will be powerless to prevent it. You intend to turn them, Dooku realized. I intend to break them, Sidious corrected. Power means nothing without understanding. They are children playing at being heroes in a galaxy whose darkness they cannot comprehend. When they witness the Republic's fall, when they see the Jedi destroyed, when they realize that all their strength couldn't prevent inevitable fate, he gestured, and the hologram shifted to show Mary's face, determined, hopeful, naive. They will learn that in this galaxy, even gods can bleed. And if they prove more resilient than anticipated, then we eliminate them, Sidious said simply. But I suspect they will be far more useful broken than dead. Imagine, 6 beings of immense power, disillusioned with the Jedi, desperate to return home, willing to do anything for the promise of salvation. His smile widened. They could become instruments of the Empire. Champions of order rather than chaos. All it takes is the right pressure. The hologram flickered and died, leaving Sidious alone in the darkness. Above him, in the Jedi Temple, the Shazam family slept peacefully, believing they were safe, believing they were heroes who would find their way home. They had no idea they'd landed in the middle of a trap 2 decades in the making. No idea that every connection they formed, every person they saved, every act of heroism, was adding weight to chains they couldn't see. And when those chains finally tightened, when the galaxy burned and the Jedi fell, they would learn the hardest lesson of all. Sometimes, being a hero isn't enough. Sometimes, the darkness wins. And sometimes, the only choice left is what you become in the ashes. The Shazam family had crossed dimensions, battled in the void of space, liberated an occupied world, and begun to carve out a place for themselves in a galaxy that operated by rules fundamentally different from their own. They had proven their heroism to the Jedi Council, earned the respect of battle-hardened warriors, and saved thousands of lives. But their greatest challenges still lay ahead. Somewhere in the galaxy, the Bendu waited, an entity that might hold the key to their return home. The world between worlds existed in texts and legends, a realm where all realities touched. And every day they remained in the Star Wars universe, they were pawns in a game orchestrated by Darth Sidious, the hidden Sith Lord whose plans would soon reshape the entire galaxy. Mary stood at the window of their quarters, watching Coruscant's light stretch to every horizon, and wondered if the Force had truly brought them here for a reason, or if they were simply victims of cosmic chance, caught between dimensions with no guarantee of ever finding their way back. Either way, they would face it together. They would continue to be heroes, because that's who they were. They would fight when fighting was needed, protect those who couldn't protect themselves. And hold on to hope even when the darkness seemed overwhelming. Because they were the Shazam family. Champions chosen by ancient gods, bound by love and loyalty, carrying the wisdom of Solomon, the strength of Hercules, the stamina of Atlas, the power of Zeus, the courage of Achilles, and the speed of Mercury. And in a galaxy far, far away, that would have to be enough. The war was coming. The Sith were watching. And 6 heroes from another reality would soon discover whether divine power could stand against the darkness that had been festering at the heart of the Republic for a generation. Their story in the Star Wars galaxy had only just begun. And the Force itself seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what these beings who existed outside its influence would do when the galaxy needed heroes most.